Today, we are going to talk about working with profiles. We have already touched on this topic before. Today, we'll go into more detail. To start, we can click here, in the lower left corner of the screen, on a separate button. A menu like this will open up for us. Here, as we already know, we can select the machine, the oil, which will be used to generate data in the variable environment, and here there is a browser tab. Here, generation is set to default, but we can configure it manually. There is a section called Emulation here. You can find out what each item is responsible for by clicking on the question mark. A special help window will open, and by reading it, you can understand what this item does. The same applies to what the canvas is for, and the web version as well. Click on the question mark and study the help section on your own. Below, you can choose either emulate or do not emulate at your discretion. You can select the probability with which a particular browser will be generated. You can also set the probability for generating a specific operating system or platform. Here are the platforms, whether computers, tablets, or phones. For example, you can set it so that only Android is generated and only as a phone. Why would you need this? If you generate, let's say, a phone profile that is specifically configured with the Android operating system, then, as a result, when you visit a website, it will typically show you the version of the page that is intended and optimized for Android phones. This helps ensure you see the mobile experience designed for that particular device. Let's return it to how it was. Now let's go over the sections directly related to profiles. We already know that profiles can be loaded as well as saved. We covered this when working with Yandex profiles. Saving. So, to start, let's create some action in order to save. For example, navigating to the same Yandex site. That's it. Let's restart our project. Excellent. It's loaded. A new profile has been created for us, which has a first name, last name, date of birth, and city of residence. We can save this data to a file and use it later for loading. Loading is needed so that if in this profile we register on the same Yandex site, then in the future, if we don't want to register or log in again, and to avoid being flagged by the anti-fraud system, we can load this profile, and we load the same cookies, the same profile values, the same browser fingerprint, and the site will recognize us as its own. In other words, it will think that we've already registered on this device, even though we just loaded the profile. Let's save it first. Let's go to our actions and create a special folder for profiles. Let's name it Profiles. And let's give our profile a name. For example, let's call it Loading. We select what we need to save. IndexedDB. Save proxies is up to you if you use them. Local storage is also saved, and cookies are mandatory. Whether to save variables or not is also your choice. Let's perform this action. And let's also restart the project, so that we can create new profiles again. And let's save it as well, so we have several of them. I promise. Now we go into our project directory, and we see that a Profiles folder has been created. It wasn't there before. We go into it, and we see that two completely different profiles have been generated. Now we can perform various operations with them. For example, load them. Let's change the action and select Load. But before that, we need to get a list of our profiles. To do this, we create the action Work with Directories. We select the action Get File Lists. We select the Profiles folder. You can either write it directly if it's static, or insert some variable here. And next, we need to put this into some kind of list. Let's create a new list and name it accordingly Profiles. We've created the list, execute this action, and now the path to our profiles appears in the list. Next, we need to take a line from this list in order to load the corresponding profile. Select the Profiles list, choose the Get Line action, and select randomly. there's no point in deleting it right now. Let's create a new variable and call it profile. Go to Custom Variables. And we can see that each time a new profile will be selected. Next, we need to load it. To do this, we select the Load Profile action. Here, specify the variable that contains the path to our profile. And next, let's restart our project to create a completely new profile with entirely new data that hasn't been saved yet. Then, if we connect this action and run it, we can see that the data from the profile we previously saved has been loaded. Also, we can remove this action and we can overwrite each of these fields, specifically each of these variables: profile name, profile surname, date of birth, month of birth, and so on. We can overwrite each of these values, meaning we can change their values. For example, we can change the name from Curtis to Mike. To do this, we go to Data, Profile Management, and here we select the action not Load, but Reassign Fields. Here, you choose the variable you want to change. Let's change the name. Select the Assign action and change it to Mike. We select this action and observe. We can see that the name has changed to Mike. There is one nuance. When changing variables that are contained in the profile, that is, variables that are part of the environment, you need to save the profile each time. That's all for now. See you in the next lesson.